All right, let's get to it. It's
That's it.
Friday, Community Beacon. Appreciate everyone for checking in. Whether you're checking in now, you're checking in later, you're in the place to be. You're meant to be here. I don't know if you know this, but you're meant to be here. And so I'm excited about this show as we continue, or actually we're culminating um, on identity. We've been sitting and talking about the topic of identity for about a month now, since the beginning of the month. And so next month on to, well, I think we got one more one more day next month, right? Do we? Next week it'll be the
I
30th.
think we have one more episode following this next Friday. We ought to close out. I think that's the 30th.
Okay, so the next Friday we can just go back through all of the episodes that we've had, because I guess we get what, five? Did we get 5 Fridays in this month? Who knows? I don't know, but
It's a big month, man, and my birthday's coming up. So
oh man,
yeah. So
oh
it's gonna
man.
be fun. It's gonna be fun.
So we got the
Looking
birthday
forward to
coming
that.
up. We got and we're still here, guys. We're still here, chopping up these episodes, getting it done. Um, I'm Mike Seville. It normally says Palm Beach Mike. I think because I'm on a different. Oh, that's interesting because I didn't put Mike Seville, but I'll be him today. Uh, you're a real estate guy here in northern Palm Beach, Florida, and of course, on the other side of the screen, we have my brother from another mother, the incomparable Joel Simmons of the Tenacity Foundation, live
That's
on
it. That's it.
location.
Hold your applause. Hold your applause. Hold your applause.
We'll, we, we'll applaud ourselves. I'm gonna tell you that.
That's right. That's right. That's
We'll
right.
give ourselves some applause and celebration. All right, so we're in seasons and surrender. Interesting. Let's get into it. We're here for the clarity. As we jump into this episode, the rhythm with the season that we're in. We're not fighting it, we're not forcing it, and we're moving with flow. So
Yeah.
you're here right now, like I said, you're meant to be. So let's get into it, brother. Last week we spoke about the presence and the power in regards to identity, something that we already carry. And I mean, we got real last week. We got grounded. It was, we traded some war stories, some personal stories back and forth. I remember saying, and I love this thing. Our spirits and our words and energy all add up to the same thing. It's calm and it's not performative. So, just being in alignment. The power without presence is control. Presence without power is passivity. But when they're aligned, that authority is rooted in truth. Those were a quick takeaway. And brother, you came and you were talking about the present just being just because you're in the room and not being disconnected from yourself. You know, uh, because if you are, you're absent when you're there. And then you mentioned this last line, like got out the good book. It said, "Be still and know." Right. So
Mm.
that's the power. No noise, no dominance, but stillness that anchors us in who we really are. I thought it was an awesome episode. A lot of takeaways. So if you all get a chance, run it back. Dope episode. I think all these episodes kind of build upon each other. And so you can take it and as always, engage, write some comments. What are your thoughts on it? As we enter into this season and surrender. I'll start off with the quick definitions of both. Season, a time characterized by a particular circumstance or feature. Oxford has that as a proper or suitable time, one of the four divisions of the year marked by particular weather patterns. And then surrender, Merriam has it to yield to the power, control, or possession of another upon compulsion or demand. And Oxford says to stop resisting and submit to authority. Ooh, to give up or hand over something. So, brother, let's get into it. Where you want to start?
You know what? Let's start with seasons, right? Let's start with seasons. So, like myself, right? Joel Simmons. I'm a firefighter, paramedic, pastor, dad, right? I'm the owner of the Tenacity Foundation, founder, owner. And the reason that many of these things have happened in my life was because I either consciously knew it was that season or I unconsciously knew that it was that season. And I want to start with that because we have been kind of musing, not even musing, well, maybe musing, but we have definitely been intentionally speaking to this end about understanding the intentionality of things, or understanding that you're not being intentional, but they are happening irregardless, right? Life is happening and we are making choices day by day, moment by moment. It's happening. And when we become intentional, it means that we are beginning to understand what is happening. And so now we're making decisions to follow specific pathways. So, like for me, being a firefighter, this was a point in time in my life, which this one didn't actually come first. I actually became a preacher first. When I became a firefighter, I knew that I needed to do something that was going to be beneficial to my family. In my mind, I began to start to divide up the different pathways, the choices that I had. I divided them. I began to say, okay, well, what is it that I want to do? How do I want to do it? Where do I want to do this at? And what are my standards? What are my standards? What is the life that I desire to live, and how I live and who I present myself as? All of these things started to come into my mind. Now, I did not understand seasons as well as I do now then. This was 20 years ago. But it was the season of me obtaining work that would project me into a place that I would be, that my value, my personal value proposition would increase, and I would become more valuable, if you will, to my loved ones, my family, my friends, to my community, to my church, right? My value proposition expanded exponentially because of this decision. And for me, it was a decision because I didn't just choose firefighting and say, hey, listen, I can always come back and work the grass, or I can always come back and work the office services. I cut off my old style of life when it came down to work, and I began to go deep into learning what it takes to be a fireman. This is me not knowing that it is my season to become a leader, right? Because I actually was already in the middle of my season to become a leader, um, because I had already become a preacher, but I didn't realize it. So I'm unconsciously moving in a season. Now, think about that for a moment because of the success that I've had, you know, being able to rise myself up from a five-figure annual uh, uh, pay to getting six figures, right? And then to getting higher six figures and higher six figures, because I was able to then begin to associate, okay, this is what I'm doing, and as I get better, this is what I'm able to do. And granted, the amount of time that I put into the work did not change, didn't change. My skills did, and me understanding that I need to provide X level of service. What does that have to do with seasons? When we know the season, it's a lot easier for us to apply ourselves according to the reason of the season. What I mean by that, when I first thought about this, I went to school. I could not just go and become a fireman because I needed certifications. So for those of you all who need certifications, this is speaking to you. Like even Mike, when he began to make a transition to get into real estate, he could just go and buy a home, but if he had the licensure, then it gave him the capacity to grow much, much larger. It's a big difference. Like anybody can jump into a burning house and save one person or die. Anybody can do that. But only certain people can jump into a house certified, save somebody with their skills or die because it's still there, and actually be paid and applauded and do it again and again and again and again. So the difference is that when you know your season, you begin to understand now it's time for me to study, to show myself approved, right? Scripture says, show yourself approved. A workman needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth, or rightly dividing the work from the non work, the intentional from the unconscious, rightly dividing. But that comes with knowing your season. And in the form of agriculture, that may mean the difference between knowing that though it is sowing season, that I should sow in hope, right? It's not reaping season. So I'm not going to look for the fruit of a tree during the sowing season. It doesn't make sense, which means I don't have to be stressed because I know the season. It's time to plant, it's time to protect, it's not time to harvest. But when it does come down time to harvest, then I know all efforts, all energy is expended in that space in that time to go and pluck the best, the ripest of the fruit at the most peak time within the season because it has greater profitability. This transfers into every aspect of life. And that's the reason why seasons and surrender are so important, because knowing the season can help you surrender to things that you are unable to change. And we're just talking about this offline. So I'll bring it up a little bit later, but I'm going to take a break from talking to hear what Mike has to say.
Yeah, bro. I mean, you hit it on a lot of cylinders there. As you spoke about the seasons, and this is what jumped out for me. One of the things was knowing the season that you're in. That way, you know what to expect. It may, once you realize that you're in a certain season, you kind of know what to expect. Life is still going to come at you, right? But if we know what to expect, it's okay, because the season, and I often think of seasons as, times to contract and times to expand, right? We're contracting and we're expanding. That could be a season. I almost think of seasons as rhythms, because it really ends up being a pattern. And it doesn't matter what is going on. You can be like the brother said, in all contexts and all phases and it kind of all comes together. It's like, whether he's talking about being a firefighter, whether he's talking about being a pastor, there's patterns, there's things that you can do. And while you're doing this, because this is what this show ultimately is about, it's about mastery. You can start to master these things. And when you also know what to expect, you can also do these things with excellence, right? So the seasons are, the contracting and the expanding. You still are doing all these things in seasons. If I'm throwing the seed out there, right? If it's that time to plant, I'm doing that with excellence. When it's time to harvest, I'm doing that with excellence. Hey, what happens when? Because I got this huge mango tree outside. I wanted to talk about it a little bit. What happens when it's the season and there's no harvest? There's nothing there. Like, what do you do then? Right? Like and this is what's supposed to happen. But you also know that there's times when there's nothing to harvest. This might be a contraction period. Okay, well, what happened to the tree? What do I need to do to the tree in order to make it bear? Hold on. Well, what if this, now here's a third season coming around. Is this tree necessary? to be back here at this point in time? Does it serve a purpose? Is it within my purpose at this point in time? Because honestly, me and my dad get into it all the time. It's blocking the view of the golf course, right? Like it's blocking my view. So now I get a chance to say, well, is it worth it? Is it not? But if this tree is always harvesting or is always bearing fruit, I like mangoes. I like this kind of mango. I'm more likely to keep it there. But this comes with knowing the season. I shouldn't be expecting this mango tree to bear in December, January, February. I'm not even supposed to look for it, right? That's the
Mm.
time when I really should be taking care of it. So that part that you brought up in regards to the season, brother, like understanding the pattern and knowing what it's in and knowing that it's going to happen regardless of whether or not you want it to happen or not. There's going to be seasons. There's going to be times to plant new beginnings. There's time to nurture it. There's time to harvest. And then what just in regards to the winter time, there's a time for stillness and reflection. There's a time to prune it, like, and then there's a time to decide on if am I is this going to be needed for my upcoming, for the future. Does it fit? Is it in alignment with where I'm at? Right? These different things. These are some of the times where you kind of can figure out what seasons it is. I think it goes back to this rhythm of life, right? Like this rhythm of life. It's extracting, it's contracting, the wave is coming in, the wave is going back. Like, what is your set point throughout this entire time? Where are you uh, amongst all of these things? And are you getting better? Are you handling these things, better, or are you stagnant with it all? Are you not worried about it? Right? Are you unintentionally just hoping that this thing blooms in your life? Are you not taking the time to go study? Man, you brought up this. Anybody can run into a burning building and try to save somebody. Right. Anybody can do it and end up harming yourself, harming the person, or having more damage than necessary. But am I growing within this? No, not growing. The better word is, am I maturing during this season? Am I becoming mature? Once again, going back to this mango tree, there was a time when you had to give it special care while it was maturing. Now it kind of just does it on its own. You still check on it just because it's a fully, 10, 15 years in, it's a fully grown tree, doesn't mean you don't check on it for funguses or whatever, like, that type of thing. But it's a mature tree now. You treat it differently than the other tree. But that's not going to happen if you're not growing throughout this entire time. So I'm loving this conversation, brother.
Man, man, you said a bunch of things right there that I wanted to jump in on, but it was that last piece that that touched me. Um, Jesus said this. It was in the book of Luke, 13th chapter, right? He said, a certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came and sought fruit thereon, and found none. Then said he unto the dresser of the vineyard, behold, these 3 years I come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and find none. Cut it down. Why cumbereth it the ground? And he answering said unto him, Lord, let it alone this year, till I shall dig it about and dung it. And if it bear fruit, well, and if not, then after that thou shalt cut it down. And so it's like, what the maturity aspect of this is big, y'all. It's big because sometimes you are in the middle of your season. You're in the middle of a season where you are growing and it ain't showing. And you need to do something during that time. You don't always need to cut it down or destroy whatever it is you're doing because you cannot see growth. Maturity. We need to go back and start thinking. And it's like this wise man told the master, he's like, listen, before you destroy this thing, because everything in the field has some type of value. How do we extract the value? I tell you what, let me go ahead and let me pull back the roots. Let me dung it, give it the nutrients it needs. Let me go ahead and water it. Give it one more year to see if it becomes fruitful. And here's the thing, many times we'll get into the midst of the season and we'll start to get this feeling like something is supposed to be happening, but we don't investigate. That's what it means. Pull back the roots of whatever it is that you're doing. Investigate the cause. Investigate the message. Investigate the test. Investigate the trial. Investigate the work. Investigate the relationship. Because you may be getting ready to divorce somebody. You may be getting ready to leave a job. You may be ready to start a business. You may be ready to make a purchase. And maybe it's for you and maybe it's not. But based off of feeling, you could actually make the wrong move every time. Every time. Because you go off of feelings. No. Pull back the roots. Get to the root and stop looking for the fruit. Get to the root of the matter. Understand the part of the season is knowing it's time to do something. But the part of the surrendering is understanding this is what I cannot do. Therefore, this is what I can do. Knowing what you cannot do, knowing what, not necessarily that it's impossible, but knowing that there is something that that is not appropriate for you to be able to do at that very moment, that right there makes a huge difference because now you can investigate what you can do. Quinn Rose, oh, she's on here. She said, I finally caught the podcast.
Did you put that up, or is it popping up by itself?
No, I just added it because I knew
Okay.
I know who it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's glad. Anna, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, you're on with us. You're on with us. We added you
Anna,
to the
what's going
thing.
on? What is
Yeah.
going
Now I
on?
did not put it up there in that bottom corner if that's what you're asking me. That thing just popped up. That's some new feature from
Right.
StreamYard.
Yeah, I was seeing it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's pretty
there it
cool
is.
though.
Oh man, we moving. Joe, yeah, he is on fire. I love it when he gets into that rhythm. I get a chance to take it in. I'm glad we've been. This is one of the reasons why we do this
Appreciate
program
it,
is
Anna.
because he gets into that rhythm. I'm like, man, people have to hear this, right? We got to hear it when he's vibing on that level. Um, let me talk about some of the things you spoke about, brother. You said, how do we extract value? It's and I do this, and I finally and I became very intentional with it when I recognized that I do it. I don't care who I'm talking to, whatever space is being provided, who I'm talking to, how it is. In my mind, I'm extracting value some kind of way out of this conversation. It doesn't matter if I'm speaking on something I have may have a higher, I may have more information about the subject and the other person doesn't. It's like I'm I'm here. There's a reason why I'm here. That's why I tell myself there's a reason why we're having this conversation. I may know a lot more than this person, but I'm going to get something out of this conversation. And then I start to ask questions. I start to uncover certain things, and you never know what you mean. And I always do. I'm always wherever I'm at, I'm extracting something out of it. Now, at times when you look back on it, you're like, well, is this the most effective? May not necessarily be the most optimized way for me to gain information. However, I'm gonna get something out of it. I heard Denzel. Denzel has a power. He's like, I'm leaving here with something, right? So that's my thought process. Wherever in the space I'm at, I'm leaving here with something, right? Whatever that information is. Getting to the root, that's big. Dre said something one time. Dre said someone came to him and they hadn't, and then they were apologizing. Was like, "Oh man, Dre, I wish I would have, I wish I wouldn't have done that." Whatever it was, this reaction they had. I wish I wouldn't have done that. And Dre said, "Listen, I'm not mad at you about what happened. The result of it." He said, what I really want to know is what was the thought prior to that got you into that space. Like once we start to go back and look at like what was the thought prior, right? You made a decision. It didn't go the way that you possibly thought it was going to go the way. And now it's like, oftentimes we're in this damage control. I gotta control this damage. And we spend a lot of time in the damage control. But once you get it under wraps, now you gotta say, okay, what was I doing? What was the thought? What happened prior to that? And then possibly what happened prior to that. But at some point in time, you're gonna get to the root of it. Otherwise, you're going to be in a pattern. Now, the seasons are occurring, right? Let's think of it as just the same, the seasons of fall, spring, winter, summer. Like these are happening regardless. Within these seasons, we have a pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
We resort to our own pattern of behavior. This goes back to this set point that we have. I want all of us to become aware of this set point. What is this pattern of behavior? What is causing this pattern of behavior? Why am I? And I can almost guarantee it. I deal with people so often. Go back. You can look. Here's a quick way to check it out. Go through your bank account statements, right? And you
Hmm.
can just go through your bank account statements and look at January, February, March. This is my pattern of behavior. I'm always going here. I'm always going here. I'm always going here. Then April, May, June. I'm always doing this. I'm always doing that. I'm always doing that. You'll start to know. I've noticed it within myself. Not just the bank account statements. It's even in my in nutrition in my lifestyle. I know. Boom. Monday we're gonna do the Murph, right? Like the May is the Murph. That's when I'll go with Chris and we'll go do, you run a mile, 100 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then you run a mile. We do this almost every year. Like we've been doing it for the past 5-6 years. Then I'm gonna look. I got this on my, I know exactly how much I weighed at the time, so on and so forth. I'm going to see how much my weight. All of a sudden, I get into this mode of oh, man, I'm working out. Like you might catch me at the gym twice a day at this point in time, just because that Murph jump starts a season for me, right? Like it jump starts this physical working out season. Then I get to October, then it's like, okay, I'm gonna cut back. Now it's Thanksgiving and I'm eating a little bit more. And then you get into the December. Like these patterns are happening like in concurrently with the season. So pay attention to your seasons. Pay attention to your set point during these seasons. This is how you can improve. Well, Peter Drucker, what gets measured gets improved. Okay, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm deciding now I'm going to do something different, right? We spoke about deciding before. The brother said you're killing off all other options. I'm becoming this new person. And and now my standards, and now you have to raise your standards. My standards are getting higher. As you raise your standards and you become consistent with it, your set point goes up.
Hmm.
And you start to get gradually better over and over. This allows me
Hmm.
to jump right into this part of surrendering, right? Because now this is what this is gonna take. This is gonna take for us, it's gonna take us surrendering um our old ways. I'm not gonna tell you, some people tell you need to kill your old ways. Some people are gonna tell you you need to, you need to be angry at how you were or whatever it is. I'm not telling you to do any of that, because what got you here, that's what got you to this point. Right now we're just sprinkling a little bit of awareness. We're changing your point of reference, but that allowed you to survive. That was your survival. That your set point was set on survival at that point in time, right? So, but now we're moving on, right? Like we're getting to this point of thriving, right? We're in this season of thriving. So the way that I was when I was surviving, I love you and I appreciate it. It got me to this point. You're right. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still able to breathe. I'm still waking up. I'm grateful for that. However, certain things I have to give up. Right? There's certain things that I have to replace. We spoke about habits 2 months ago. There's certain habits I have to change because I am raising my standards. I want to be the best me that I can be. I want to operate in what I believe is excellence for me. This is a new point of reference. We've never seen it before. I can't carry this on to the next thing, right? So let's get into the surrender part, bro.
Whenever I think about the surrender part, man, I'm 100% with you, right? And this surrender part is so, it became very vivid inside of my mind. And you brought up a few other things that I wanted to mention about what you were talking about just a minute ago when you started to talk about, knowing what to expect, right? Knowing what to expect. Guys, all right. Knowing what to expect. When you are in the middle of this rhythm, and we talked about rhythm, we did actually when we started talking about habits, the rhythm of things. When you get into the ebbs and the flows, it's like it becomes predictable, right? Things become predictable. And it may not be every single thing that you do, that I do, that Mike does. It may not be that specifically, but the season becomes very predictable because the things that are unconsciously happening tend to happen around the same time frames every single year, or they tend to happen after something else happened, right? So, like if you're on a diet and you go out to eat and eat fried chicken, you get the runs. It becomes very predictable. Every single time you go on a diet and you go out and you eat a bunch of fried food, you got to go to the restroom. It becomes predictable. Okay, so you're doing well with your diet or your nutrition and you're drinking a gallon of water every day. When you fall off of that, you don't urinate as much. When you're on top of it, you're going to the restroom consistently. So, like, things get highly predictable. That is the beauty of it. The lesson is learn what becomes predictable. This is what we mean by pulling back the roots, exposing it, and going deeper so that I can understand exactly what it is, what happens when I. We should all be asking those questions to self. I got to say, wherever I find myself, I check myself. What happens when I? I got a muscle ache right here. I already knew what it was. I hadn't been sleeping well. Not that I haven't been sleeping well, I just haven't been sleeping much. I've been burning the candle at two ends of the stick, going to bed at 12, waking up at 3:45, right? And then I'm still taking my pre-workout. I'm still getting into the gym, 4:30 or 5, whatever. I'm still doing that daily. And then I'm still running my business and I'm still doing the work that I have and I'm still making sure that I have enough time for my children, my family, my church, all my commitments. I'm keeping them. I'm not wiping them off of the plate. As a matter of fact, I'm adding more to the plate. So all of a sudden, I go and I work out today and I get tightness right back here. Because I've been checking myself so regularly, it was very simple. I went down a list and I'm like, okay, I've been drinking water, but not enough to compete with the amount of caffeine that I'm drinking, the amount of workload I've been doing, and also the lack of rest. I need to drink more water. I also need to add more electrolytes, which is the reason why you see me drinking this today versus drinking a cup of some type of caffeine to keep me going for a little bit. I'm drinking this because I need to make sure that I handle that. But why? Because it's predictable. It's predictable. I know what's happening. I know why it's happening because I've already exposed the root of what's going on. So it makes it easier for me. And now that we're in this point of maturing, we start to add to it. So the surrender part, right? When you get to the surrender part, it's releasing the passions that possibly are keeping you down. That's what it is. It's like, what can I do without? It's like waking up in the morning or before you go to sleep at night and you figure out what you want to do the next day, and you come up with those one, two, or three critical things that you feel is the most important that needs to happen for the next day. Why? Because it's predictable. If I go to sleep and God blesses me to wake up, I will. And if I wake up, I will do A, B, C. I'm not going to wait for anything to come by, because what if it's M? What if it's F? What if it's Z? What if it has nothing to do with me? Now, this is the reason why some people are in seasons of malnutrition. They're always eating, they're always listening, they're always doing something that does not move them forward, which is what you just said a little while ago, Mike. That has nothing to do with their cause, their purpose, their vision. It's not even about getting 1% better every single day. It's about doing something that can help you get to where you desire to go. But you need to know where you're going. One of my favorite quotes, Yogi Berra: if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. Any of them will do. You just walk anywhere you want to. You might end up in an alleyway where people are getting jumped and beat up and tossed inside of trash cans. But you know what? You didn't know where you're going. So why not make a left turn here down this dark alley? Why not? Because it does not lead me to the place I desire to be at. So we have to learn how to surrender to your goals, surrender to your aspiration, surrender to your belief, and allow your belief to shape your lifestyle. Within your belief, there's going to be rudiments, there's going to be rules, there's going to be pillars of faith, something that you can follow, something that you can believe in, something that can stretch you, something that can challenge you. That's what surrendering is. And when you surrender to something like that, check this out. You can overcome certain seasons in your life. Guarantee on that one. Guarantee on that one.
I was thinking about the as you were talking, it popped in my mind, and it was 1 Corinthians 13:11. It says, when I spoke as a child, excuse me, when I was a child, and I spoke as a child, and I understood as a child, and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
I love it.
The
I
seasons
love
are
it.
this goes back to the seasons that are happening, right? These seasons are happening. Winter, spring, fall, summer, oh, yeah, whatever it is, right? This is happening. Am I maturing within these seasons?
That's the word, Mike. You said it.
Right?
Maturing.
Right? Am I putting away these things? And I mean, this was really frustrating for me at one point in time. Now it's kind of just it is what it is. I totally understand, and I get a chance to get better. So I use these. That's why I said I extract. I'm extracting everything. I use these um for everything. I use the thought in my mind, or the knowing that I'm here for a reason, and I'm getting better because of this. But are don't you notice the people that are still just talking about the same thing? Like year after year, moment after moment, we're still struggling, we're still striving to get over certain things within our lives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is. Years have gone by and we're still struggling with the same thing, even though it's predictable. the seed, the leaves are changing. It's getting into fall. We know from fall, like right now we're in Florida. It's summer. We're getting into summer. Guess what? It's getting hot. That AC is kicking in a little bit more. You walk from the house to the car, you're starting to sweat a little bit more. Like these things are happening, but we're not. You can act as if you're not prepared for it, right? This has happened for the past however many years, and it'll continue to happen for the most part, right? Unless something catastrophic happens, right? And then that's a whole different situation. But other than that, you're coming to it with the same mindset. You're coming to it with the same thought process, right? The brother spoke on belief. You're coming into with the same belief. Here's my thoughts on this belief and not maturing. First, we start off with I think something, right? There's no basis in it. It's just something that we really is almost like it comes from a feeling. So it's really not even thinking. It's more so like the feeling of it. And then we get to this belief, and we all have beliefs. Even if you think you don't believe, you believe. You believe in something because it's showing up every day. It's showing up in your attitude. It's showing up in your walk. And then we have faith in something, right? So this is my thought on how we mature through this process. And then you go from faith to the knowing. Like I know this to be true, right? Like you're gonna have to come up with something because I know this. I know when I sit down on this chair that it's gonna hold me, right? Until it doesn't. But I know it. And then you just start to become the embodiment of something. Like now you start walking as you are. Like this is the identity thing. So you'll start with this feeling of something's got to change, something's got to move, and then it goes into I'm listening to Mike and Joel. Like I believe that something can move because look at these brothers. I saw them 4 years ago, and they were filming inside of something looked like a prison. Then I have faith in it, and that something can change for us. And then when you get to this is maturing. Don't Man, don't stay in the same spot of thinking and believing forever. At some point in time, this is a part of the surrender. We're aware of the seasons. We know these are the patterns. We're predicting these different things, right? We know this. Now we know we have to let go, right? We have to start surrendering and even the prediction part. This is not about controlling a thing. I'm not here to control because anything is possible, right? But we're not here to control it. But it's been happening over and over again. We got to put our thinking caps on, right? So now we've made the decision. We spoke about decision over and over again, and we'll bring it up 1,000 more times. We're killing off everything to the point of no walking in faith. We talk about walking in faith. You're walking in, and then you begin to embody this. This is when you start to change the room. The people around you no longer bother you because it's not really about them because we're working from the inside out. So it's like I've changed. So it doesn't even matter when I'm going into work. It doesn't matter if I'm going into work and these people are the same way they have, but I've changed. I may excuse myself out of a bunch of these conversations because it doesn't matter to me, or I'll be in the conversation and just give space because now I'm starting to plant. Have you noticed it? Like I know this about me. Like a person can feel a certain kind of way and feel strongly about it, but I'm just planting, and I don't even care when this thing blooms or whatever it is, whether it bears or whether it's not. I'm just planting, and these things are happening because I'm embodying it. I'm walking in it. 2 years ago, I made that. I decided for myself. I said I'm getting away from this because I just want to walk in this. So no matter where I am, this is just my way of doing it. Now, it's not a perfect walk, right? By no means. There's times when you in your mind and this is not about perfection. Practice is not to be perfect, right?
Mm.
Practice for competency. And practice is about moving up in that direction that we want to go into. It's not I'm not going to jump out on the basketball court and make 1,000 shots. Nobody will. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe, whoever you decide that's the best. Steph Curry, Reggie Miller, great shooters. They're not making every shot. right? That makes it that's a part of the game. But what they are is they're proficient, they're masters of it, and they're walking in it. Reggie Miller used to be like, "Give me the ball. I'm gonna take this shot. I don't care." Right? Steph is probably the same way. Give me the ball. I'm gonna take the shot. It's gonna go up there. These are my chances. So, and they walk that way. And now everything else has to, you got to design plays for it. We know we giving it to. Oh man, what? I think it was when they played the Utah Jazz and Karl Malone, and and you hear them yelling from the sideline. They're giving it to him. They're giving it to him, and Mike is like, I know
There's
everybody in
nothing I
the
can do.
everybody in the arena knows it's going to Mike. Now they just doing the best that they can in regards to guard him, and whether he makes this shot or not, it's not even up to him. But he's gonna take the shot, right? I almost think that like that's the spirit. I told my dad the other day. I say, listen, the words, the actions, it could be all for naught if you don't have the spirit behind you. That's the heaviness. Like that's what makes it powerful. Other than that, because me and you could say the same thing, but if the spirit is not behind you, like it doesn't matter. I don't care who's in the room. I don't whatever. If this is the heaviness. I don't care if the U.S. government and if the U.S. government. This is Dre. Dre talks about this when he was going up against the U.S. government. He's like, you can't take this away from me, right? Like you cannot take this away from me because it's already there. And say you're gonna take away my freedom, right? Like you lock me up or whatever it is, I'll be fine. Because this is the purpose of it. As long as I'm walking in it, I'm walking in this way. This is where we're getting to with this, with the seasons and the surrendering. Because once we already know, the brother said the seasons are happening. Okay, boom, that's done, right? We understand our set point. This is being intentional about it. This is being surgical about it, really. It's here to empower you. The season is there. The way that I was reacting to it is there. But now going back to this verse, now I'm just putting away these childish things. I'm becoming a man, right? Now I'm a man in this thing. I'm not changing. I'm not easily swayed. I'm walking in this upright way, right? No matter what, everything could fall apart because all this stuff is man-made, anyways, right? The buildings could fall apart. This could fall apart. I'm walking it in this thing, and I'm gonna leave it at this because I just thinking about this. At least since God, you all have to forgive me. I've been a activist since I was in the 7th grade, right? I still have my Malcolm X report that I did in the 7th or 8th grade. I still have it. I remember you might have heard this story before. I read the first half of Malcolm X and I just took off. Like I didn't even read the entire book. I read it. My dad gave it to me the summer of 7th grade. I read it and I just took off. Right? Like that so that was that. And been having conversations, mature conversations about systematic oppression. We can talk about redlining. We can talk about slavery. We can talk about prior to slavery. If you want to have those conversations with me, we can have those conversations at a deep level, right? At a very, very deep level. I've been doing this for a long time. And we're still at the point where we're making the system as the excuse. I'm not saying that it's not a powerful system. By all means, I'm with you. I seen it. I see the way that it's been used against people, whatever, particular groups, and so on and so forth. I've seen it, right? Us talking about it is not going to change it. That's not where the change happens. The change happens at the mastery level. The change happens when you have that weight behind you. Because as big as this so-called system is, it's still a man-made system. Can you imagine those people that had to deal with which I think is even more the force of nature? These people that had to deal with hurricanes and and didn't know where it was coming from. They don't have all the sophisticated equipment at that point in time, and they still went out and said, you know what, I'm going to walk with it because I was given, you were, if you believe like I believe, you were given dominion. I've been given dominion, and it's just time. All I need is the weight and the direction, and this is where I'm walking with, and I'm gonna have dominion over all of this stuff. Right? You got people in Africa that go against lions. I don't know if you ever seen it. Remember the thought that they just had the conversation about the 100 men versus the one gorilla, right? Like, we have to coexist with this, and it doesn't have to be with force, because you see people out there with the gorillas all day, every day in Africa. These guides, right? Like, we see them, but that dominion doesn't mean that I'm ruling over it with an iron fist. It doesn't mean that every time I see it, it's my mortal enemy. I got to kill this gorilla because it's so much more powerful with me. No, I find a place to coexist within how it needs to work. We know that. We know that we can take these gorillas out. As a matter of fact, there was a time when that's why they have some people out there to protect the gorillas from man. Right? Like, we're protecting them, but we're coinciding with them. What's the lady that lived with the gorillas? They killed her. Jane, I think it was Jane Goodall. It might have been. I don't know. We'll put it in there
That might
somewhere.
have
I
been
don't.
it.
Yeah. But you coexist with you. You have dominion over. You have dominion over all of these things. I said it last week. All this stuff was given to you. When you surrender, you'll get the bandwidth in order to kind of start it. Because all we gotta do is sit still. The brother said, "Be still." Right? There's a I think it was a U.S. president that said, or no, it was a U.S. president, but someone once said a very all our problems could be solved by us getting into a room and being quiet. Like, just by not everyone trying to out talk each other and and our egos and so on and so forth. We surrender these things and we can easily come with all of these ideals. Not many people are doing it though, right? Because most people want to resort to the force and the control, and it's not about that. There's a time and place for all things, but it's almost like using a hammer for everything in the house, right? When you need a screwdriver, you're using a hammer. When you, when you need a when you need a sander, you're using a hammer. It doesn't work like that. We've been given all of these tools already in order for us to move forward with it, but we have to be able to let go, surrender some of the things that we believe to be the the only way, because it's not.
Hmm. I love it. I love it, man. Listen, the framework that you just gave out, I think it's really important that we go back and we touch base on that before we close out, because that was deep. That was deep. And I know that we've talked about it multiple times throughout the different seasons of Community Beacon and series, but you laid it out so well just right now that I think it deserves its own time, right? And that was this, it's the framework of identity. And the brother said this. He said it goes through these 6 different uh, levels. First, I feel. Then, I think. Then it's a graduation to I believe. Then, I faith, or I am faithful, or have faith. And then it goes to I know. And lastly, I embody, which is at that point in time we arrive at identity. I just, man, it was just something else. The uh, culmination of all of these words and these meanings coming together in like one phrase. And at the end of the day, that is identity. That's who you are. That's who we are. It all starts off as a feeling because we don't even recognize exactly what it is. We just know there's a feeling and we think about that feeling, or we think about something, and before you know it, we believe in something. And belief is the thing about belief is you can have just as much as belief in something as you have doubt in something else, right? Because doubt is just the opposite end of the coin. If you flip a coin, you have heads and tails. Well, you have belief and you have doubt. They're exactly the same, just called two different things. One has a negative trajectory. The other one has a positive trajectory. That's the only difference, but they both are equal, so to speak, in their representation. Um, and then faith is actual like trust. Faith is taking that belief and making a decision and a choice is saying, I will not have doubt, but I will trust what I believe, which is faith, trusting in what you believe. And then it's like, more than I trust it, I'm just going to sit down in that chair. Like, I'm not even thinking about it. I am unconsciously trusting in this so much that I'm just going to lay in that bed. I'm just going to get in that car. I'm just going to pop the top of this bottle and open it up and drink whatever's inside of it.
It's not gonna kill me.
It could be acid in there. Probably not acid, because it burned through it. But it could be poison inside there. But I'm gonna pop the top of a Mountain Dew and just drink it, of an energy drink, and just drink it. That is full out trust. You faithfully trust in that product, 100%. And then after that, it's like I embody. This is who I am. It becomes a definitive part of my being. When I'm present, you can tell my beliefs, you can tell what they are because I respond in them, I act in them, my clothes represent them, my walk represents it, my vibrations represent it, everything. This is now my identity. And getting back to the surrender part, surrendering through these phases is where we obtain mastery. That's where we obtain mastery. It's surrendering to the elevation of each one of those levels that gives us mastery. And we're like surrendering to absorb that, and we're surrendering ourselves to let go of the other things. We're making decisions. And I like that. And you were talking about how you can use this in business too. You go from, I just want to have my own business to, I this is my business. And it's like you're gonna have to rip this from my cold dead hands because
Or at
my
least
business is me, right? And I mean, there's an argument on whether or not a business is a business, and that's another conversation, right? But we're talking about the embodiment of what we do, the identity of what we do. That's what I'm getting at. And I like that we started talking about this is another thing that you brought up. You started talking about the practice. So I'm gonna lay out the framework as I heard it while you were talking, and you were talking about the practice of it. And the practice then equals competency. Much practice gives you competency. You keep practicing the same thing and learning from mistakes, from errors, or whatever you want to call it, and you become competent at doing something. When you become competent at doing something, you become confident that your competence is true. So now you feel confident that you can do what you're competent at. And even if you fail, or if you don't succeed, or if it doesn't come out looking the way that you wanted it to look, you're confident that if you get one more opportunity, you'll get it right. Your confidence outweighs your practice because your practice was so strong. So you're not on the court practicing. I think we talked about this before. Now, confidence in your competencies lead to proficiency. So the rate of you successfully accomplishing whatever it is rises up to a high enough level that even when other people see you do it, they believe, they may even call it, oh, that person you ought to see when they put together a piece of pottery is perfect every time. Now they don't know you got 1,000 marred pots in the back closet. All they know is that every single one that comes out appears in their eyes as perfect. And if there ever was one that was marred that you sold, it probably would sell more than the ones that aren't marred because they would be like, I got to have that one. It's special. And so your competency goes into proficiency, and proficiency means what? It makes you not ashamed.
Mm.
That's what it does. And this is the power of understanding how to surrender and how to know your season. So that you know, in this season, I am going to surrender to the appropriate things that will allow for this season to be beneficial, and it will allow for this season to do for me what I needed to do for me. That's competency. All the rest of the time in the middle of these seasons, we're practicing. Everybody is practicing because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know if it's fall, winter, spring, or summer. You ain't got a clue. You're like, it's hot outside. Must be summer. No, man, it's spring, man. It's spring. Oh, same difference. It's not the same difference. It's a different type of heat.
Hmm.
In Florida, it's going to be more of a wet, humid heat. There's going to be a lot of rain. Why? Because the ground is going to be filled with water so that the spring showers can bring the summer flowers. That's why. So when we start thinking about that and it's raining, all of these different situations are happening in our life, ask yourself, is what is happening to me, does it have anything to do with the way I'm traveling in life? Like you have a business and all of a sudden it seems like everything in the business is going wrong, right? We equate that to a storm in life. The storms of life are raging. Now it is time for me to hone in on the things that are being rained upon, because maybe it means that I've got a hole in my roof. If I didn't have a hole in my roof, the rain would not bother me. If my roof was on a sure foundation and it was boarded up well and it was strong and it was able to supply my needs, the rain wouldn't bother me. What does that mean in business? It means there's holes in my business. And I need to plug those holes so that the rain doesn't bother me. Why? Because after the rain comes the flower. The fruit of it is coming next. I just got to last that long. Most people give up in the spring because of the overflow of storms. So they give up right before they actually win. You don't want to give up then. You want to pivot. You want to learn. You want to adapt. You want to overcome. You want to look at the rain as a blessing from God to teach you what you need to know so that when the summer comes, you can grow. And when the fall comes and everything starts to die off and the winter hits and nothing grows, you have enough supply to take care of you and all of yours. Your business can thrive out of season. This is what I meant earlier by how you can overpower the seasons by being prepared in the season and preparing for the other season. I have one other thing here, but I'm not going to mention that on today. But I'll give you this story, and I've said this story multiple times because I was heavily influenced by this piece of art, this work of art, and it's based off of the Battle of Thermopylae, right? And it's the Persian Empire. Xerxes the First had an alliance with the Greek city-states that were led by Sparta under Leonidas the First, right? And they ended up having the second Persian invasion of Greece, right? This was a 3-day battle. 3-day battle. Now, when you watch the movie 300, the depiction, the art of how they are showing this battle is so powerful to me, because there comes a point in time when Sparta is fighting off fighting off Xerxes at such a high level that he has to go to the front of the battle just to see what in the green earth is going on. I got tens of thousands of soldiers and they ain't got nothing but 300 men, and you guys can't take an inch on these guys. So he comes forward and he gets to the front of the line because he wants to see who is this Leonidas, who is this man. And right at that moment, Leonidas realizes, this is my moment. This is the appropriate season. This is because he's done so much practice that he has cultivated himself to such a high level that he is very proficient in whatever he does. His mind is right, his heart is right, his skills are right. And they show this depiction of him walking in front of the battle. And they put it in slow motion because it's very theatrical. And he comes out in slow motion as Xerxes is attempting to brainwash him into leaving his people and joining forces because he's such a great warrior. And when he does that, he takes advantage. He takes advantage. We can't take advantage of the season because we don't know we're in the middle of it. And we don't know what to do with it anyway. So he takes advantage and he takes his armor off. He drops his shield. He takes his helmet off. And the narrator describes him taking off each artifact. He drops his sword and he has only left the beam of his spear. And he's holding on to it almost as if he's barely holding on to it. And he takes that spear and he lunges the spear at Xerxes. Meanwhile, Xerxes is just watching because he's thinking that Leonidas is going to give up, but he doesn't. And he strikes the side of his face. Xerxes barely ducks, cuts him open, right? What is that? It's knowing your season. He surrendered every single thing that was holding him down, that was giving him weight, so that he would be able to take the one shot. In business or in relationships, when things get so tough, sometimes we just have to take the shot. I think it was Eminem. I don't remember how the song goes, but Eminem, one of his hits in the very beginning, he talked about how you only have one shot. And he tells the story about how he got up and got into a rap battle. And he actually destroyed himself so that the other person had nothing left to say. And then he destroyed them too. And it's like the mindset of somebody who is who's obsessed with capturing and owning and having agency of their own season. The capabilities of that individual surpass people tremendously.
Powerful, powerful, guys. And I'll leave you with this. I brought up my mango tree. My mango tree isn't worried about the seasons, right?
No.
It's too busy being a mango tree, right? If it needs to dig deeper into it with its roots and its foundation, like that's what it's gonna do. You know, the brother brought up the person who's an entrepreneur that gives up. That means that you don't really believe that you don't can't believe, right? You haven't went up that matrix of this being who you are, because it doesn't matter. I think of someone like Beethoven. Like it is what it is. Like he's gonna live and die on this business sword. Like it is what I'm going to spend all. I'm going to make it happen. It's gonna happen some kind of way. This is who I am, right? The mango tree, you don't have to convince it. The mango tree says, this is who I am. The mango tree gets it. The bees get it. I'm a bee. This is who I am, right? The birds get it. This is who I am. I don't care about I go along with the seasons. I'm in the flow of it. You got to become in the flow of it. And then and becoming in the flow has to do with surrender. Surrender is not, I'm giving up. It's not quitting. right? Surrender is saying, I'm using these seasons to extract and it be optimized and it be the most value for me, right? Me, the embodiment of this thing. Michael is going to use the seasons, right? I'm aware of the seasons. I'm going to go with it. That's the surrendering part. I'm gonna go with it. It's that much power. It's that much powerful of a force, right? The season is the season. This is not the rains are coming down. This is not the time to be doing certain things, right? We're not starting fires outside. We're preparing for the rains. We got the roof. We got our foundation. We're going to dig deep into this. We're going to use these seasons to make the adjustments. That's what the surrendering part is, right? The surrendering, but we're not going to sit here and yell at the sky and say, "Stop raining." You know what I mean? Like, stop doing what you're doing. Like, we're using these forces. They were given to us, and they're good things, right? They help. The seasons help. There's a reason it clears the trees away. There's a time for these different. There's a time for all these different things. This is what we're using it for. This is the seasons. Letting go, going with the flow of it, and being who you are. You're being somebody. You've went through this matrix on something. The only time that we tend to be like, oh well, I'm at this belief phase, is when you're not really what you are. But once you become what you are, because that's what you're showing to this world. That's how you're showing up, and you show up that way all the time. You may not be happy about it, right? That we often want to be more than what we are, but you are this. Just to accept it and say, well, I desire more. There's a part of me that desires more, knowing that I can master it. Brother, you brought up the competency part. I'm like, at proficiency, and then you get into mastery. Too much of us aren't getting into mastery of these things. Become a master of this stuff. That's a whole different segment that we have to jump into in regards to just life in itself. Is this mastery part of it? Because most of us don't reach there. We're too busy jumping from 1,000 things or trying to juggle a million things when you were put here for a purpose. Why not master it? Why not just be the best? Get the practice in, right? Throughout these seasons. That way you're mastering it. The seasons, it doesn't even matter because you're the embodiment of this thing. We know it, they know it. Most importantly, you know it. You know you, right? You're showing up for you. You're showing up in your purpose. Time
That's
well
it.
spent.
Time well spent. I want to leave them with this. Leave them with this. I'm put on the screen. That's what I want to leave y'all with.
Yeah, I love that.
What season are you in? And what do you need to surrender to mature?
That's big.
Y'all, we love you. Grateful to be here.
Or if you were mature, what would you surrender? Right? Like
Mhm.
you can flip it. But yeah, the awesome questions, guys, man. That's awesome. Put it in the chat, put it in the comments. I'm curious. This is how you get support
Yeah.
throughout whatever you're dealing with. Like, this is how you get support, and so get pointed in the right direction so that your point of reference changes. I'm doing the Murph on Monday, and I was like, I'm talking like, how am I preparing for it? And then I look at David Goggins, and this man is running like 100 miles for breakfast, and I was like, what am I complaining about? It's only 1 mile, and this, that, and the third, because my point of reference changes, right? Once you start to see these things, hey, what am I going to do after the Murph is what I'm thinking now. How am I going to work? What's my real workout going to be for that day, right? That is just, your point of reference changes, but you have to, you can be pointed in that direction. Use your resources and your tools. All right, I'm done. I've been yapping. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Peace.